Just waiting for the stream to come on. Well, the lights on this end look good. So hopefully, yes, it appears that we are online. Good morning. Happy coding, everyone. I hope everybody is having an awesome week and had a great weekend as well. It is Tuesday. It is 7:32 in the morning, British summertime. What a summer it is. In today's stream, we're going to be furthering on the project that we're building here. It's an invoicing application. It's going to be used as a mechanism to teach object-oriented programming through the powers of PHP. We're not going to use any frameworks. We're not going to use any libraries apart from the testing libraries. And once this invoicing application is built, I can then use this to teach object-oriented programming. This is going to go to FreeCodeCamp as a complete course. So these streams are just the streams of building this application. This isn't the course at all. The course is going to be something completely separate and certainly won't be live streamed. Today, there's a couple of things that I want to address and I want to talk about. The first thing, though, is I want to say a massive welcome to the recent followers that we've had to the live streams, to the Twitch streams. Thank you very much for following it. It means a lot. We've got Trent T, It's Mr. Slayton, and I can't pronounce this. Attic, I don't know, very odd Twitch name, but welcome nonetheless. Okay, I'm going to just dive into the browser a minute because there is something that I want to discuss. This is an issue that was raised by someone in the community saying that they're not able to run the application. So this invoicing app is on GitHub. Anybody can follow along and take a look. So it's called FreeCodeCamp-PHP-OOP. It's in my PFWD repository. You can see it right here. But we're in the issues tab here, and the one I want to look at is this one. Let's open that up. So this one was opened by Ahmed, saying that they're not able to run the app. I tried everything, and then in var wub HTML folder, my files don't mount. Only one Apache and MySQL folder is there. There's a problem, obviously, here with bind mounts, and there's a problem perhaps with the Docker machine. He's also taken the time to create a Stack Overflow post, which is here. Which goes through a similar thing, actually detailing the Docker Compose file that we're using. So I was thinking whether or not to tackle this today, and I think that what I'm going to do, because if anybody watched the previous stream that was on Sunday, which I was playing around with another project, and that project had was using Docker machine, it was using bind mounts, and I was having great difficulty with my bind mounts. For some apparent reason, they were working perfectly fine on a separate machine that I have here in the office, but they weren't working on this machine. I suspect it's something similar. I suspect that there is a problem with the way this is configured. However, I don't know. I can't put my finger on it right now. So what I will do is I will definitely take a look at this, and I'll probably take a look at this tonight after work, and I will tear everything down. I'll remove the Docker machine, and I'll go through the README file from start to finish. The README file is down here, obviously. So I'll go through each one of these steps, and I'll see if I can get to a point where A, it'll either run and these tests will run, or B, it doesn't work. And if that is the case, then I'll pull my hair out and I'll try and work out what's going on. But it's the point where I'm pulling my hair out. I don't want to be doing that too much on this stream, because that could take several hours to do. And this is only like an hour and a bit stream, and I don't think I've got enough time to do that. Also, if I do leave this in a broken state, then that is not good. So if I was to do this evening or whenever, then there is obviously a need to get this to work, because tomorrow I'm going to be live streaming again, and I want to be dealing with another issue, another enhancement in the issues list. So I will definitely take a look at this, and I just want to say a massive thank you to this fella here, Ahmad, because not only have you taken the time to draw this to my attention, and I do realize it was 3 days ago, so this was before it was over the weekend, I think. But you've also taken the time to actually create a community post in Stack Overflow. So I will be definitely looking upon this like a hawk and seeing if there's anyone else with a similar issue. But I suspect it might be something wrong with the file system or something else. It's just too similar to the issue that I had over the weekend on Sunday when I was talking about a completely different project, and I was trying to run that up. As a segue there, we were also dealing with Python microcontrollers. So I was showing you how to get a Pi board with MicroPython running, and we were screening into that through the terminal, and I was writing Python code against that. So that's still available on Twitch. If you're a Python dev, then do check that out, because that was pretty fun. Because that was a bit of hardware as well. I was wiring things up. Okay, so let's just assign this to myself. Let's just make this as a label. Let's put this as so I won't mark it as a bug yet. I'm going to put there's one here. It's needs further investigation. These two, because I will look at this and I will definitely see if there's an issue here. Okay, so today though, what we would like to do is we would like to work through the other ways of saving data. Last stream, what I was doing is if I go into the code here, I'll just show you. So I spanned this up this morning. In the last stream, we wrote an acceptance test for DB status entity. This is using the manager, if you can see here, and this is saving it, and then it's seeing whether or not it is in there. And I want to do this for the customer, for the invoice, and for the invoice item. In this stream, I just want to focus on the customer. If there is time after this, then I'll definitely deal with the others as well. It's going to follow a very similar mechanism to this, and I just want to make sure that process works. Also, this is working on the process that we can insert that record into the database, but there's also a mechanism of actually updating it too. If I just to just refresh my memory, if I go back to the SRC, if I go into manager here, if I go into the status manager, bring that out a little bit, we should see that there is this save routine we pass in the entity, and if the entity doesn't have an ID, so if ID is null, then what we do is we run an insert, inserting the name and the internal name. If, however, we do have an ID, then we do an update rather than an insert, and we set the name, the internal name, where the ID is equal to this parameter that we've passed in. So I want to do a similar thing for the other the other entities, but there is something that this whole issue with the bug that Ahmad has here. This is an interesting one, because it's obviously brought to my attention that there's something fundamentally wrong here, and this made me think about the code in general and how the code is a little bit tailored towards my environment and not to anybody else's. I will demonstrate. If I go into the code, if I went into the where are we? Tests, acceptance suite. This. So we're putting in the URL here of 192.168.99.100. So this is making the assumption that you're using Docker Machine, and obviously Docker Machine isn't required for this. I could make it required for this, but I certainly have no control over what IP this Docker machine is, and I don't want to be writing in the README, please change this to be the IP of your Docker machine if you are using it. If not, use this. I think there's a better way of doing this. I think I can run this as localhost. So that's the very first thing we're going to do. I'm going to just run a test on this. So I can just do this. Let's just do localhost and save that. And then what I can do in the machine, I'm in the container here, is I can just run this, and if this runs against that IP, then it's worked, which it has. So let's just change this to be localhost something completely random, foobar, and let's see if this breaks. I just want to do a sort of a failing test. No, that has worked. So it's not actually using the URL, which is interesting. I thought it would be. This is probably because, actually, sorry, it's not running it's running a DB test. It's not using, it's not running anything else. Let's just do an acceptance test, and let's do, instead of the DBs, let's do a homepage test. So that's just homepage as the group. Okay, so that's failed, and if I did a -- debug on that, let's take a look. Okay, let's see if there's anything in the output here. Yeah, okay, so can you see that? Well, you probably can't. Let's see if I can highlight this. So it's a guzzle error, cannot resolve the host local.foobar. Okay, so that's my failing test there. Let's see if I can change that to be localhost. Save. I'll run this. And that's passed. So localhost works, and obviously 192.168.99.100 works because that is the IP of my Docker machine. But because you might not be using Docker machine, I should just keep this to be localhost because that would be the default, which would work. So before I even tinker with this, let's just revert this to what it was, 192.168.99.100. Let's go back to the browser. Because I want to have a record of me doing this, so I'm just going to do new issue. We're going to do change acceptance PHP browser to use localhost. Okay, just because, and I'm going to put it currently is set to the IP of the Docker machine, and that may change and is also an optional requirement for the project. Marvelous. Okay, cool. Just so I know why I did that. So we're just going to put that in. This was issue number 49. So we're going to now jump into Git. We're going to do a Git checkout -b. It was issue 14. Was it 49? 49. 49. And I'm going to just do localhost test URL. I'm not worried about the branch name really. It's more that the ID there represents the ID of the issue. That's how I kind of work. Yeah. Otherwise, the title would be humongous. So let's do that. Okay, awesome. We've switched to this one. I'm going to change that again to localhost. Awesome. I'm going to run my test. I've just realized I've just done a Git checkout within the Docker machine, within the container. I'm not sure that's going to be. Let's come out of this container. Whoops, I probably shouldn't have done that. Let's just see, where am I? Git status. I probably shouldn't have done that. We are on that branch. Okay, fine. All right, so that was all right. You got to be careful where you are, localhost. Okay, let's go back into the machine. Whoops, let's run that code again. I don't need debug. Yep, that passed. Awesome. Okay, so then let's do a git, not from the container, obviously. Let's come out of that. Let's do a git commit -m. Oh, actually, no, I need to do a git status and a git add, don't I? To see if what has changed. Status. Yeah, git add, and then it's where are we? Which tests acceptance, and then a git commit -m, updating test URL. Awesome. Then I'm going to do a hub pull request -p. Okay, cool. Let's go into insert mode. Closes hash 49. If I can do a hash, there we go. 49. Come out of insert mode. Right, and quit that. Off we go. Brilliant. Okay, then what I'm going to do is go into the browser here. I can see that that has that's changed. That's cool. So we can go to the pull requests here. We can do this. We can merge that in. Confirm the merge. Delete the branch. And that's good. Brilliant. So let's do a git checkout of master. Let's do a git pull just to bring in that change, and let's do a git branch just to see what branches I have. Whoa, we've got quite a few, haven't we? Let's see if we can reduce those and make things a bit tidier. So let's do a queue on that. Let's do a git branch -d to delete. We want to delete this one. We also want to delete 49 or 46. Don't worry about the errors here. It's just like saying that I can't find the ones that I've already just deleted. Whoopsie. 42. And the last one is 41. Awesome. If I did a git branch, we've just got develop and master. Okay, cool. So that's cool. That's good. I'm liking that. Okay. Oops, sorry. This was what I was doing. Sorry, I was deleting all of the branches. I didn't mean to just have the code on. Apologies. Have the browser running. So this is what I was doing. I saw all of these branches when I did a git. What did I do? I did a git branch. It listed me all the branches that I had locally, which was all of this lot. And so I deleted them all. So this is me deleting them. And now just running git branch, I just have develop and master. So there we go. Okay, so I'm going to take a slurp of my tea and then we're going to work on some code. Not that we haven't done already. Okay. Let's go back into the browser here. So we've got these managers, create managers and all sorts here, but I want to create a new issue and I want to test customer or customer table insert customer manager. Let's do manager. Customer manager insert and delete and update. Okay, this relates to the this relates to 32. create customer manager. I'm going to mark this as myself. I'm going to set my labels that this is going to be something to do with the model layer, MySQL, and that's good. So let's save that. Okay, so test customer manager, insert and delete. This is tag 51. Okay, so let's go to browse to the code here. Let's now do a git checkout -b 51, and this is customer DB. Let's just do customer DB test for now. Okay, so we're in this branch. Wonderful. Okay, so what I need to do in the acceptance is I need to have a similar thing to this. We're going to call this customer. Add that. Let's change that to be customer. DB customer. Yep. Change this to be customer. Okay, let's bring that down a little bit to give a little bit of room. Sorry, I caught something in the corner of my eye there. I thought it was someone in my garden, but it wasn't. It was just the wave of the tree in the light. Okay, so we insert test. We have the status. We have, this is the status. Okay, so we want to deal with the manager. We want to deal with the customer. That's what we want to deal with. So entity equals new customer. The customer, we have the first name. Whoopsie, set first name. So I'm going to do customer. We're going to just do test first name. And then this one, oops, set last name. Test last name. And we're going to do a test for the company name. And so this is going to be, well, if you guessed it, it's going to be test company name. Why? Because I've only had 1.5 cup of teas this morning and I can't think of anything else imaginative. I can't even use that word. I can't imagine another awesome name other than test company name right now. Okay, so we instantiate a new connection, and then we have the manager. This is going to be the customer manager. So we don't have the customer manager yet. So this is going to throw some issues, but you know, we're going to do this in a TDD kind of manner. This is a failing test. So I'm yet to build that. Then we see in the database, we're going to check the customer table and customer, there we go, had it all right beforehand. We should have the first name is entity get first name. We should also have one in here for last name. I'll just change that. Last name. And that is get last name. So this should be our insert test here. And for those who are new to the stream, I just want to show you that in MySQL schema customer, this is the data that we're putting in. I also should put in the company name as well, because that's not null. We must put that in, so I need to do that too. So in here we're going to do set first name, set last name. Oh yeah, we've put company name in. Sorry, I had already done that. This is because I haven't had enough tea. But we'll check that too. So I can see in the database that we have last name, first name, and also company name as well. I just want to double check in the schema that this is first name, last name, and company name all are spelt correctly. Company name, first name, and last name. Yes, that is correct. Okay, Awesome. So that is our customer test that we've created. Let's see now if this actually runs. Well, it's going to fail because we don't actually have the customer manager. But let's just see what the error is. So I'm going to grab that as the group. I'm going to bring this up a little bit. I'm going to dive into the container, which is a couple of levels up, which is the web container here. And then we're going to run this test, which is that one. This is the customer entity insert, the one that we've just created. I'm going to run this. This is going to fail. Hopefully it'll give me some feedback. Yep, customer manager is not found. Okay, so that's the first thing that we need to run. Bring this down, open this up, and it is in SRC, it is in manager, it is in here. So that's the status manager. We want to copy that, paste that in, change this to be customer, like so. This is the customer manager. Let's drag that over here so I can actually write some code on this thing. Okay, so this is the customer manager. It requires a connection that we're injecting here. This is the same as the status manager. It's actually the customer manager. So we're providing a connection. I might look at refactoring this at some point. So they extend an abstract manager that requires this, and therefore there's no need to have a constructor for every individual manager. But let's just work on this at the moment. The find one we can also test as well. So this is going to find a customer. This is going to work on the customer hydrator, and we haven't tested that yet, I don't think. Okay, so this is what we want to be playing with, the customer. I'm going to just make some notes there. Okay, so we want to change this because this is inserting into the status table, but we want to be inserting into the customer table. So let's just I'm just going to drag this out a little bit. Apologize, it's a bit small, but I just need to read the whole thing. So insert customer, insert into customer. This is first name. This is last name. And also we had company name as well, I believe. So that we're going to get the first name, we're going to get the last name, and lastly we're going to get the company name. That's what we're going to do. Get company name. Wonderful. Okay, that there's a tree branch that is just waving, and the shadow is just coming off the garden a little bit, and it's a bit disconcerting because it's like this shadow is appearing in the garden. Okay, because we've inserted 3 things here, we also need to put in a third question mark. These are the parameterized bits and pieces. We don't need to have a space. Well, it's good to have one, but you don't have to. Also, we need to faff about a little bit with the actual updating. So this is customer name. Again, it's very similar to all of this stuff. Name and last name. We also have another one, and that is comma company name. Where ID is equal to that parameter. So we need to have get first name here. We need to have that needs to be get last name. And that needs to be down here too. And we also need to have get ID, but we also definitely need to have company name. We got to make sure that these all line up. So the first one is first name. First one is first name. Second one is last name. That's last name. That's last name. That's last name. Then it's company name. That's company name. Company name. company name, and then the ID, because these need to be in the same order as these. Okay, so these parameters need to be in the same order as these things. Okay, and then we do a prepare and everything else here. And that is awesome. This is just basically how it was with the status, but this is now doing the customer. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, let's see if this runs. So let's do an insert. I'm just going to bring this up. So that's still failed. And let's have a look. So no matching records found. Whoops. 4 criteria. First name is test first name. Last name is blah, blah, blah. Failed asserting that 0 is greater than 0. So there's obviously something going on here. See in database, I see in database customer, first name, last name. Okay, let's take a little look. Let's take a look at, first of all, let's come out of, let's run this with debug mode on. Let's see if there's any other issues that may arise that might jump out to me. Because this also dumps the actual SQL here. Okay. Whoops. Okay, so I'm just reading this right from the top here. Okay, so the first thing we did is we're connecting to. Okay, now it's saying that's connected, so we are connected to the database. That's a win. Okay, let's scroll down here. Then, oh, that was for the other test. This one here is connecting, then it's connected, fine. Now it appears to look for that before actually doing the save. Is it because the namespace is wrong, or some use cases statement is wrong? That needs to be removed. That needs to be removed. Let's go back to the test and have a little look. Okay, so we are setting all of these things as expected. And it's definitely the customer table that we're using. Okay, so it would appear that it would appear that we're not actually doing any inserts. We're just doing a select, which is strange. Although this is only pumping out what the tester is actually doing, which is I. So let's just step this through. So we're going to save that. That goes to here. We're passing in that. That then checks whether there is an ID, which there isn't. And if there isn't, then we create the SQL here, and then we pump it through, and we execute the data that we've created here. Okay. Looking at this looks perfectly fine. First name, last name, and all of that jazz. There doesn't seem to be any issues with that. This is what we would be testing here. This is what we're going to be doing. Okay. Okay, so that really didn't give a lot of... Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to come out of, we're going to come out of this container. And we're going to go into the DB container. And we're going to just put in the password there. We're going to use, I think it's test underscore, actually I'm in the wrong container, aren't I? Let's just exit this out. This is DB underscore test. Okay. Let's do a check, shall we? Let's do a use, I think it's test underscore invoice app. I think that's right. Yep. Let's do a show tables. Okay, so we do have the customer table. Let's describe that table. Oops. Okay, so this is describing that table. We do have the company name, we do have the first name, and we do have the last name. If we did a select all from customer, we do have that. We have just put something in, and that happened on the 30th, which is today, at 7:03. So obviously this is a different time zone, but yeah, that's gone in. That is what I've just put in. So the data's there. The test obviously is not right. So let's go and have a little look and see what's going on. Yeah. Did you see that? I have put that round the wrong way. This needs to be get company name, not get last name. This is a copy and paste problem. So let's change that to be get company name. Okay, let's hit save. Okay, let's exit this and run the whole test again. So we're going to go back into the web container here, and I'm going to run that. We're still going to run debug. Why not? Okay, that still failed. Hang on a minute. Oops. So unexpected syntax error. Whoa, what's going on here? What's that all about? Customer manager 48. Customer manager on line 48. Yes, I can actually see in the IDE there is a red line here. So there's something going on with this. What's going on here on that red line? Why have I removed that? Let's put Control Z. I probably bashed the keyboard or something. There we go. Okay. It's going to be one of those mornings, isn't it? So let's run this, and hopefully, yes, that has passed. Marvelous. I'm super happy with that. Cool. Okay, so that's testing the insert. Sure. Let's now test the actual update. So what I want to do, because this is testing that there is an update. So what I need to do, is I need to copy this. Now, because we're tearing everything up, or tearing everything down, I should say, after or before each test, we need to do a couple of things again. So we're going to do an update here. This is now going to be an update test. So the first thing we want to do is we want to test all of this stuff. So we're going to put all this stuff in. We're going to save that. Really what I need to do is return the ID and make sure that and get the ID back, but I haven't got a facility for that yet. Or do I? Let's open this up. What does execute do? Returns true on success, false on failure. Okay. What I need to do somehow is return the last inserted ID. How do I go about doing that in a PDO approach? Fetch column, fetch all, fetch object, last, error code. Let's get ID. Anything coming out with ID? ID? No. Okay, I'm going to just do a quick Google for PDO insert get last ID. Okay, it's just PDO colon get last ID. That makes sense, doesn't it? So let's go to here a minute. So how would we do this from this perspective? Would we do from not this perspective, because what we want to do is update the entity. That's what we want to achieve here. So in the customer manager, we want somehow to get the ID that was inserted. So if I did dbcon, here we go. Do I have? We got fetch number. We've got all of this stuff, but we don't have ID. No. But we do have PDO. That returns the same thing, doesn't it? So they're saying it's PDO last insert, but that's not coming back as a thing. Okay, maybe let's do this without using the statics. Let's do dbcon. Yeah, here we go. Last insert ID. So that should get the ID of the inserted jobby. That means now we can actually check that there is an update running. Okay, so what I want to do is really what I want to do, and this is where this deviates from the mechanics of the status manager, which means that I do need to refactor this, is what I should do after we've actually done the execute, of course, is we should do if entity get ID, and we do if null 1 2 3, then we do entity set ID, and we pass that in as the last inserted ID. Then, of course, what we need to do is actually return the entity that we've just been dealing with. So we can do here return entity. Whoops, like so. So I'm going to just return the customer like this, and I'm just going to change that like so. Okay, so we're now returning the entity after we've done either the insert or the update, and we were doing that because if you're doing an insert, then you want to hydrate the ID of the entity based upon the last ID that was sent. So we need to test this really on in here. The save routine will return a customer. So this is saved entity. Whoops, like that. Okay, saved entity, which means that we can check that. We can check that as well. So I think I should be able to do this. Nope. Perhaps. Just checking through the bits and pieces in what I can do against I. Okay, cool. All right, cool. But what I should do though is I should be able to now do this ID. So I should be able to pinpoint get ID from the saved entity. Okay, so that's that will be the first insert. We're now going to update it. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a entity, and we're going to do, actually we'll do saved entity because that's already been saved. We're going to do set company name, and this is company name test. So this is going to be a different test to this one. So this is test company name. We're going to do test company name 2, like that. And then we're going to see in the database, we're going to then save that entity. Now, because that entity we've just pulled back from the database, we should have the ID. Okay. So I should now be able to do IC in database. And we're going to run that like so. And we're going to check that and we're going to do this explicitly. Actually, we might as well just saved entity like this. Get company name. Okay, so I'll just recap what I've done here, because I do realize that this is going a little bit deep here. So the first test that we did, we tested just the fact that we could insert something into the database. We created the customer. This is a completely new blank customer entity. We set the first name, we set the last name, and we set the company name. That's all we did. Then we made the connection to the database and we instantiated a new customer manager. We then called save against this entity. This entity is completely brand new and fresh and clean. It's box fresh. It doesn't have an ID yet. The IDs are going to be populated through the database themselves. We then check whether or not that has actually proceeded. So we see in the database that the customer, in the customer table, first name, last name, and company name are based upon the entity that we've just created here or instantiated here. Awesome. Okay, so that's the first test done. Second test. Now, if you remember, what happens with the tests is before the tests run, they are teared down, all right, and then they get so we have a nice clean database. Okay, so the first one we're doing exactly the same as we've done up here, right? Exactly the same. However, we've made a little tweak to the manager that will return the saved entity. Now, the saved entity will have the ID based on the last ID that was ever entered into the database on that particular query. So if we scroll up here to the customer manager, it's this point here. This is the magic. So we're saying if null, entity get ID. So basically, if we're running an insert query, and to be fair, this needs to be refactored quite heavily, but we'll worry about that in another stream. Let's just get something working. So if we don't have an ID from the entity that was supplied, that was passed through, right? Not only are we going to insert into the database, but we're also, after we've done that, we're going to set the ID based upon the last inserted ID that we've got, and then finally we return the entity that we've just saved. So we return that entity. So if I go back to the tests here, into this thing, in this thing here, and then push this back. So we can now save that saved entity. So I can actually pull this out. I can actually be a little bit more finite with this test. I can say that I want to test the exact ID based on that. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to try and do an update rather than an insert. So this is why it's in the same test, because obviously if we did this in a different test, we would tear down the database and start from fresh, and we can't do that. We want to be able to update we want to be able to update the database, or update the current entity that we've just saved. So we're now using the saved entity, which was returned from the first ever save. We're setting the company name. We're changing that company name. So if you think of this as like a user journey, this is like someone saving a company in a content management system. as it is here, and then going actually, we want to change the company name to be company name 2, test company name 2, and then we're going to hit the save button again. So this is kind of mimicking that behavior. Okay, and then we do a C in database again. This is going to be in the customer table. We're looking for the company name. We're looking for the saved company name. The saved company name has been altered at this point here, set company name, test company name 2, and we're also checking against the ID. This should, in theory, only add one single record into the database. In theory, this should create this record, and then it should update that record again with the new details. In theory. So let's run this. I say in theory because let's just see. So this is DB entity update. So let's entity update. Okay, let's run that and see what happens. And there we go. It's worked. Yay! Okay, let's just see though. Let's just have a little look. I can see it's already worked because that's the ID of 1. But let's just run. Let's just come out of this. So let's just exit this. Let's go into the database container. And then we're going to use that time is 8:23. Fine. Okay. Use. Was it test? Invoice test invoice app. Select all from customer. Yeah, so we only have one record. We inserted the record, then we updated the record, and we changed test company name to. And really, let's have a little look. So we actually we created it at this time, and we actually updated it within the same second. So, I was thinking we could put a sleep in there to prove that we actually had an update later than we had a creation. But that's going a little bit too far, isn't it? Let's scroll up a minute. I just want to go through. I put in debug, didn't I? I want to actually go through the process here. So, okay, so we ran this. We connected to the database, which is connected. Awesome. And then we ran this scenario. So we first of all we see. Whoops, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Did not mean to do that. Let's see if we can bring that back. That's close enough. Okay, so the first thing we did is we inserted that into the database, and then we tried to do IC in customer, all of this stuff. First name, last name, and so forth, putting in the company name of ID1. Then after that, we did an update, and then we did, I want to select customer where company name is question mark and ID is question mark, where company name is the test name 2, right, and ID is 1. So we only ever dealt with one record in that entirety, in that thing. What I want to do, though, is I just want to run the whole thing. Let's do an exit here. Let's go into the bash container, into the web container as bash, because I want to just scroll down here. That we're using groups as DB. I just want to double check that that is the case with the status. So DB, we have DB here, because with this whole mechanism of tearing down the database after each test, you kind of want to make sure that all the tests run together and you haven't, by accident, created a test that relies on another test. So this should all be sort of DB status draft, all of this stuff, that's cool, and this is all DB. Okay, so I should, in theory, be able to run all of this and use the group of just DB, and it should run through every single database test that we've got so far. And I also put debug on, so I do apologize. But yeah, that all ran through. 6 tests, 7 assertions. Let's just remove debug. I don't need that. There we go. Okay, so that went through. So we tested the insert test, the update test of the customer. We also tested the status, and we also tested the insert of the status. So I really should also add a update for the status as well. So we'll just do that just to finalize this. So in Customer Manager, we kind of need to copy this part here. This is really making me feel like I need to refactor this. Whoops. Oops, don't know what happened there. Bear with me a mo. There we go. This is making me feel like I really do definitely need to refactor this quite heavily. But what I think because we're touching the database, which can be quite fragile at times, I think what we'll do is we'll build these managers out, and then we'll have a session where we just refactor this and see if we can actually maybe create some design patterns, some OOP design patterns or something that will make this a little bit more streamlined. Because what I need to do here, of course, is copy that and put that into the status manager. So this is now duplicating code, which is never good. Never good. And what else do I need to do? Oh yeah, I actually need to return that as well. So and this is the problem when you start copying code. You there's a danger of getting things completely wrong because you haven't copied the right thing or what have you. So let's scroll up here. Let's change that to be returning that entity, and let's put that in as well. So this is the testing the update now. So in the, scroll down here, in the DB for the customer, we want to pretty much copy this test, I think, and put it in here in the status test. So we have, status entity test, that's what we need to do. There we go. Okay, and obviously we need to change a bunch of this stuff. So we're just going to make this a little bit smaller so I can see it. So this needs to be invoice entity update. Sorry, not invoice, status. We haven't done the invoice yet. This needs to be a status. And we have names and various other bits and pieces. So we have set name, and we also have set internal name. So the name here of the status, I'm just going to do a welcome. I don't know, whatever. It doesn't really make a difference, really. I could just do test status, just to keep it as consistent with the other tests, I suppose. Test status. That's all in one long test status, like that. We don't have company name at all. This is running against the status manager, and then we attempt to save that. This is going to be the I think it's just, is it name? So we just do get name. This of course needs to be the status table. This is internal name. That is get internal name. We can also check against the ID. That's always a good thing. And then what we want to do is change the set name here, and we want to modify this. So this is test status, but we want to do test status 2. And then we change that obviously to name, and this is get name. This again is the status table. Okay, so let's recap and make sure that we've put in the right stuff. I'm just going to go straight to the top and remove. No, that looks good. Okay, the warnings here on the left hand side, if you can see, this is just because I'm using a fully qualified domains, which I don't need to do. I will refactor this in just a second. So okay, so what we're doing here is we are creating a new record in the database for the status table. So we're calling name and internal name. We're then saving that, and then we're making sure that that is actually in the database. Okay, cool. Then after that, we return obviously the saved entity, which should have the ID, which we can use here, but we can then also alter this, and then that goes in. This way, what we're doing is we're trying to make sure that we're doing an update rather than insert. So this is DB status entity update. So let's just pinpoint that one. So this is DB. What is this? DB status entity update. Let's run that. And that's worked. So that's cool. That's good. That's good. I'm going to just run the whole thing again, like the whole suite, just because I get paranoid when I do these things. I need to make sure that they all run. And, you know, the more you do this, the more confidence you get of your code. I've just had a message from, let's have a look, again, another Twitch username that I can't pronounce. I do apologize. The Ekra77 has asked, what is my favorite programming language? Wow, that's an interesting question. What is my favorite programming language? It changes. It really does. It changes on a daily basis, I think. What is yours? What's your favorite programming language? I will answer it. I'm just trying to think. Right now, my favorite programming language right now, I'm going to have to say Python. Right now, it's Python. Just because the last stream I did on Sunday, I was playing with microcontrollers, which were, I'll see if I've got one here. Hold on. I put them all away. Damn it. No, I've put them all away. They are up in the, yeah, they're, give me a second. Okay, so this is what I was playing with in the last stream on Sunday. This is a Pi board from Adafruit, and you can it has MicroPython embedded in this. And what I was doing on the stream on Sunday is I was demonstrating how you can get the lights on the board to work, to flash. Using Python, and you can write Python directly on this. So I've been playing with these things for a while, and I've done projects on them before, yeah, I was just demonstrating that, and I think that's a very fun thing. So I like Python because it's very versatile, like that. But for web, if we were talking about web, my favorite language is PHP for web. That stroke JavaScript. JavaScript is very flexible, which can be a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. I think I really like the way PHP is going, with data types being more strict. So that is very good. Like I demonstrated the return types when we were looking into the code here. So if I went to the status manager. So beforehand, like a long time ago, we weren't able to do things like this. We weren't able to declare these data types as to be returned. And in PHP 7.4, it's even better because we can actually start declaring our data types for class properties, which is so handy. Because also I think that's going to reduce the amount of code that we write, because there's, because now we can actually forcibly declare what these things should be. This hopefully will reduce the amount of getters and setters and accessor methods available. But yeah, but that question, what is my favorite programming language? It changes on a daily basis. If I don't do Python for more than a week, then obviously my favorite one becomes PHP. And if I do JavaScript for more than 2 hours, my favorite one is JavaScript. So it really depends on what I'm doing at the time. But I'll be interested to hear what your favorite programming language is. What are you working on at the moment? Let me know. Put your thoughts down in the chat or in the comments down below if you are watching this on YouTube. And I should mention that this will be archived onto YouTube in the next few days. As with all of the streams to do with this particular project, the Sunday stream was just on Twitch, and that will only be on Twitch. But these things are on YouTube as well, because this is a course that I want to be building for FreeCodeCamp, which is on the YouTube channel there. Once I actually build this invoicing application, I can then do a discussion, a course on object-oriented programming using this as a basis. But I kind of need to get this to a point where it is usable and workable. After we do the database stuff, we're going to be focusing on getting the front end to work. So we're going to be building HTML forms, and then we're going to be saving invoice bits and pieces from that. And so we're going to have more acceptance tests to actually run through the forms. And then once it's a fully built thing, I mean, it's very, it's quite, I don't want to use the word basic, but it's not, the actual application isn't a very complicated application in the sense of what an invoicing application normally does. This is just going to be using, I used that really awful word just there, this is going to be using an invoice item, and a customer and a status set of entities. If you look at it like on an entity relational diagram, that's how it's going to be, everything's going to be related. So you have an invoice which can have one or many invoice items. It can have 0 invoice items, because when you start creating it, it could just have nothing. It could have a customer, and it will also have a status. So that's kind of how it all hangs together. So we need a series of forms. So that's something that we're going to be tackling after we get this database sorted out. This is taking, the database is taking a large portion of the time of this, because obviously you got to get the data right. We're dealing at the moment with inserting and updating records. Once we've done that, we can then deal with the hydration and the find. I did tackle that a little bit beforehand, but we're going to be dealing with that in more depth after we've done the insert and update. And then after that, once the whole database thing is, we can draw a line under that. We can then look at the front end, and we can get some shiny things working. We've already built the whole view and controller layer. So this was built probably back in like number 21, or like before 17, 15 on the stream, on the series. So we built that out. That was done in helper HTTP. We had a whole bunch of classes here to deal with the routes, the URIs, and the responses and the requests. So all sorts of things, and the locators, and they run off of the back of in app, in config, in routing. So these are all the routing files that we created. So it is sort of a sort of a mini framework, if you will, and you can pass in parameters, and the parameters will then get passed through to the actual view. So we actually went as far as in the controller, in the home controller. Well, I'll show you the invoice controller. We can actually call upon a particular template, and we can actually pull upon an ID from the request class that we built, and we can pass that in. And then in the view itself, so if I had a look at the view, I think that is in public. Views, invoice, index. You can actually pass in the ID and display the ID on the actual template, on the actual sort of view sort of thing. So we have the controller and the view kind of wired up, but we'll be dealing with that more when we get to the forms and other bits and pieces. This is really sort of like, we're still in the trenches. We're still trying to build this thing out. I should also say that we are going to be, these streams, they are going to be archived on YouTube, which they are, but they're also going to be held on a website that I'm currently building. This website will also have, I don't have it running yet, but this website will have all of the streams, plus it will have an embedded video of the free code course that I will eventually do. So you can learn OOP, and you can also follow along the archived streams from there. That website will be hosted on Hostinger. Hostinger is a sponsor of these streams, so thank you very much, Hostinger, for supporting the channel. They have a fantastic deal on at the moment. It is 82% off plus a free domain if you use the link hostinger.com/Peter Fisher. I'll put links in the show notes below. And also, if you use the discount code Peter Fisher, you get a further 15% off as well. We're going to be using Hostinger, like I mentioned, to host on one of their VPSs this website that I was mentioning, that will allow you to see all of these streams. And I will be doing a video on YouTube demonstrating how I deploy that to the Hostinger site. This is coming in the next few weeks. So do check out that. Also, do check out the podcast. That's howtocodewell.fm. This week we have an awesome interview with Adam Argyle. He is the Google Chrome Developer Relations, fella. And it was a fantastic conversation, awesome conversation about cascading style sheets, the future of the web, what he gets up to at Google. I was having an interview with him over the internet. He was at the Chrome office, and so that's coming out this Friday. So do check that out. So howtocodewell.fm, and you can see all the previous ones. That was I think that was the 31st interview I've done. So there's loads of interviews. I'll have to double check that number. There's loads of interviews that I've done with awesome people in the web development industry or around the web development industry, coders, managers, hiring managers, recruitment agents, all sorts of interesting guests, the junior developers and senior developers. There's a whole breadth of guests to that. So do check that out, howtocodewell.fm, and also it's available on things like Spotify and iTunes and all of that other good stuff. So thank you ever so much for watching on Twitch and also eventually on YouTube. Thank you very much for the question. The ECR 777, what is your favorite programming language? I'm going to leave that as a question. Let's put the question to the audience. What is your favorite programming language? Be interested to hear your thoughts. Put it down in the comments section below. Thanks ever so much for watching. Happy coding. I'll see you again tomorrow at 07:30 British summertime back here on Twitch. Cheers. Bye.